Happy Mental Health Awareness Month, and welcome to another episode of the Alter Your Health podcast. We're live on Facebook and Instagram, as always, this time at Thursday, which is 12 p.m. Pacific time. Even though we're in the mountains, it's 1 p.m. for us. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Alter.
I'm your co-host, Dr. Susanna Alter.
We got a few things different today. Well, actually, just the main thing different is that we're plugged in directly to the internet, like Ethernet cable to the computer, which
old school.
I haven't actually done that in a long time, but we've had a few glitches with our streaming on Facebook. So hopefully this cleans things up. And I guess, we're sorry that it has been a little glitchy in weeks past, but we're going for optimal performance this week. So as the title states, we are talking about mental wellness and mindset empowerment, which, I think we'll start by just sharing that these are things that we absolutely 100% weave into our clinical practice. And we're going to talk about how and why. But I think a lot of people understand and appreciate that our mental health and our mindset plays a significant role and a significant determinant of our experience of holistic health and our physical symptoms. But we're going to talk about how to actually practically leverage mindset and understand mindset in a way that is empowering and not overwhelming and daunting. And I thought it might be great to first talk about how mental health is different than mental illness. Mental wellness is different than mental illness. And I think a lot of mental health providers, a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, therapists, they deal with mental illness and they kind of see and relate to people's mind and people's behavior from a perspective of something's wrong, we've got to fix it. And it's similar when we consider physical health. A lot of conventionally trained medical doctors and other physical health practitioners see disease in the body and, see it as something that needs to be fixed or managed pharmaceutically or naturally, whatever it may be. But we like to try and come at things differently, really from a place of understanding, because we know, as we state all the time, on our podcast and our clinical practice with patients, the body is always healing itself. So we don't need to actually treat disease. We just need to understand disease and provide an environment in which the body can heal itself. And the same is true for the mind. Your mind heals itself. And that's harder to wrap your mind around because that's where all the thoughts get jumbled up. But when we can understand the nature of the mind, then we can kind of allow the mind to naturally maintain wellness. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And we're going to dive in and dig this apart a little bit deeper, a little bit more. So
Yeah, and just to add to what you were saying, Ben, I think what's different about our approach to mental wellness is that we really recognize that each and every individual is inherently mentally well.
Wait, what, even like the, schizophrenic on the sidewalk talking to herself and yelling at people?
Yes. Even that person. So, going back
even my mom.
Yes. So, going back to when you said the mind heals itself, I feel like even a more accurate representation of what's actually happening is that our mental realm is pointing ourselves back to as a place of balance. There's actually nothing that's actually wrong that needs to be healed because we are all innately mentally well. And yes, so you may be thinking like what Ben was saying, what is this doctor saying? This is crazy talk. There's mental illnesses like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, PTSD, bipolar, the list goes on. There are so many diagnoses these days. So what's up with that? how can everyone be mentally well but also be experiencing this mental dis-ease? Well, I think that is when we start to dive a little bit deeper. Should I just go and lay it out right now, or
Yeah, but I don't know what you're going to lay out, but
mental wellness 101?
mental wellness 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's people talk about mental illness, or actually people use the term mental health to describe anxiety, depression, other things that people commonly deal with. And people might use the term mental health issues, you know, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever it may be. But we want to kind of focus on mental wellness, just like we like to focus on physical wellness. And the underlying principle, like you stated so clearly, Susanna, is that we are all mentally well. So I feel like one of our roles is normalizing any mood disturbance, any feelings, any emotions, any patterns that we go through and cycle through. For me, I just wrote a blog on my experience of feeling like I've been bipolar my whole life, and these ups and downs, these crazy storms. And I think that one of the first steps that we can all take, regardless of where we're at with our mental wellness journey, is we can take just a slight step back or up or forward or away from yourself and just see everything as being okay, at least for a moment. It doesn't need to be okay forever, because the great news is that this moment is not going to last forever. This moment is not going to last for any longer than this moment. So, taking a step outside of yourself,
Sorry.
thanks, Susanna, taking a step outside of yourself to just gain an ounce of perspective and say everything, this is normal. This is part of the human experience. This is part of what it means to be human in this crazy world. And just kind of seeing things as a-okay, even if things really don't feel or seem okay. There's this phrase, fake it till you make it, and that's what came to mind for me just now. And I'm not really a huge fan of the phrase fake it till you make it, but in a moment, even if the moment seems totally intolerable, so much grief, so much anxiety, so much panic, so much fear, fill in the blank, you know, just fake it. Just tell yourself that it's okay. And that maybe will shock you just enough so that you can, once again, separate and give a little bit of perspective. All you need is a sliver of perspective for a fresh thought to come in.
So let's talk a little bit about what causes these uncomfortable feelings, these emotions, the sadness, the anger, the jealousy, the frustration, the insecurity, all emotions. What causes those?
Well, the sadness is caused by, when someone breaks up with me, and the fear is caused by the burglar who wants to rob me, and the anxiety is caused by the work that I have to do.
So Ben is giving a really great example of how it is so common for us, Ben and I are not excluded from this,
We're human.
to look at the outside factors as being the cause to our inner disturbance. So like Ben said, that person breaking up with me, that made me sad. The burglar made me fearful. The whatever made me angry. But what's actually going on is that these feelings are coming from our thought realm. They're coming from no other place except for our thoughts. So we might have a thought of, oh my gosh, that person left me. I'm so unlovable. And if we take that thought to be the truth, if we believe it, if we take it seriously, then that is going to create an uncomfortable sensation in our body, an emotion of sadness or whatever it is, because everyone responds to different situations in a different way internally. And so when we see that all emotions that we feel in our life are only coming from our thoughts, it is extremely empowering,
Mm.
because one thing that sometimes we forget about, that we don't realize, is that in any moment we have the power and the choice of whether we're going to take those thoughts seriously or whether we're going to just let them float through our awareness as the formless energy that thought is.
Mm. So maybe you've been told that human beings are creators, that we have this creative potential, that we are embodied, you know, God or some creative force that can manifest things in our world. You know, maybe you've watched The Secret and watched and felt the power of manifestation in your life in various forms. And really, where it all comes down, what it all comes down to for me is really right here in this moment. What we're talking about, the power of thought, is really where our manifestation and creative potential lies. It lies in this moment where you have the power to absolutely 100% choose your destiny. And a lot of us, you know, maybe like, how does that land for you when I say that? Like, you know, the first time I was told that and the first time I heard that, that we have the power to choose our destiny, I thought, okay, well, in 17 years, I want to have a big house and drive a fancy car and be making a lot of money. Well, our destiny isn't in 17 years or 25 years or any time from now. Our destiny is in this moment. And in this moment, we have the creative power to choose our destiny. And the way that we do that is with the power of thought. And a lot of people talk about positive thinking, thinking positive thoughts, just letting the bad thoughts go and choosing to focus on good thoughts. And that is absolutely not what we're talking about. Even though it sounds good, it feels good, I know that I really, you know, my ego, my humanness wants to think more good thoughts. My humanness, my ego wants to feel more good feelings. But that's not my essence. My essence has absolutely zero control in what sort of experience comes in the future. But in the moment, we have the creative potential to absolutely control and dictate our experience through thought. And I think, you know, things are kind of getting a little loose and rambly in my consciousness at the moment. But really, what I'm trying to convey is that we are not, the goal and the intention is by no means controlling the thoughts that come in, but simply being aware that thoughts are thoughts are thoughts are thoughts are thoughts. Our thoughts around grief and a heartbreak are the same energetic, formless energy that we might have around the traffic jam and we're running late to work or an appointment.
Mhm.
Or, you know, it's the same formless energy that we have when we're lying up in bed at night and we hear a strange noise, you know, outside and we think that someone might be coming in. The thoughts that we have around these external circumstances are coming from within you. And we, once again, the intention is not to control and say, oh, I had this bad thought, I need to stop having that bad thought, I need to get rid of that and replace it with a good thought. I mean, try that. If you can figure out how to do that, how to do like thought transplant surgery and just like snip out a thought and put in a good thought and keep it there, let me know if you're what your degree is of success is with that procedure. But that's not what we are implying that one should do, but rather simply understand once again that thought is thought is thought is thought. And what I mean is that it's nothing.
It's nothing. It only has power over us if we give it power, if we hand over our power to it, if we decide to believe those thoughts. And so I want to kind of go back to that first statement that we said about how every human being on this planet is mentally well. Because, as we said before, it sure seems like some people out there are not. They're in a lot of mental anguish. And so what's really happening between someone who appears very happy and mentally peaceful and everything, and someone who's dealing with, maybe they've been given a diagnosis, a mental diagnosis, maybe they just experience more sadness, more anger than what we call is normal. What's happening is that those people are choosing, well, maybe not consciously choosing, but they are taking their angry thoughts or their serious thoughts or their made up, their crazy thoughts, for those people who are having kind of psychotic experiences. They're taking whatever flavor of thought they're experiencing that's, not serving them seriously. They're believing it 100%. And then that is creating their experience in life. That's creating their emotions. And that is then going to kind of, really influence their behavior in the world as well. So, do you want to add anything to that? To that kind of distinction? Because, actually, I have something I want to add to that.
You add to that.
Because the reason why I can confidently say that someone who is dealing with serious anxiety is mentally well is because all human beings, when we wash away the thoughts, all the crazy thoughts that they experience in the personal mind, if we just cleansed that, what is left is just a pure, divine, loving essence.
Like this one.
Like this one, Winnie.
Winnie.
Yes. So really, everyone has this underneath their several layers of thoughts. But what happens normally is that as we go throughout our day, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of thoughts pop into our head. And we may take some of them seriously. We may kind of disregard others, depending on, who we are and what kind of our patterns are. And yeah, if we just let all those thoughts simmer down, the only thing that's left is your pure essence, which is mental wellness and innate well-being. And I also just want to say, maybe some of you listeners out there have experienced a time when just randomly out of the blue, you felt a sensation of complete 100% peace, acceptance.
Of course,
contentment.
everyone has these thoughts, or everyone has these feelings. I think the perceived issue, so to speak, is that we forget that we have these feelings and we have this awareness, we have this knowing. And really what you're speaking of and pointing to, Susanna, is the constant. There is a constant presence in each and every one of us, and we talk about it and point at it and admire it all the time in nature. For example, that presence that allows a flower to grow up and point to the sun and open its blossoms is the same constant presence inside of you that moves your body towards health. It's the same presence that naturally is aiming to quiet the mind and allow a connection with your inherent wisdom to be fully realized. So there is a constant beneath or through or in the midst of the crazy chaotic thought storm that might be present in any given moment. So once again, I just want to really reiterate that our message and intention that we're trying to share is not that we need to do anything. It's we don't have to do anything with our thoughts. We don't have to choose them and fix them and change them. We don't have to do anything in the realm of thought, really, because we are powerless. Our power lies in being, in not doing anything, but being. And what I mean by that is being present. And when we are totally present, then the formless energy that is thought just kind of melts away, and it just is what it is, which is nothingness. And we, that river of thoughts that's constantly flowing in us and through us is just fluidity. And like you said, Susanna, really where thoughts become problematic is when we latch on and give them our power. Then we become powerless. But our message is one of empowerment and reminding you that your power lies in your being present, not in your doing. And as we are present with our human experience in any given moment, we allow the thought storm, the formless energies that are swirling amidst us, we allow all of that to naturally settle, like like a murky pond. All of the dirt that's floating around and being kicked up when you're kicking your feet in the water, all of that settles, and you can stand in the water, you can stand in the pond, and you can see clearly because there's not the dirt that's being kicked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so before I know, because we should kind of transition into the next portion, but I feel very strongly like I want to also convey the message that is kind of woven into what we're saying, that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me for
Back to the
experiencing.
kind of first point I was making, normalizing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing for someone who. Oh, Winnie.
That's Winnie's clawing Susanna.
That got on video camera too. So that's funny. Okay, so just as an example, for me, I never received a diagnosis. I'm very grateful that I didn't, but I certainly felt waves of sadness and anxiety throughout my early adulthood, and still today. And there was this part of me that really felt like there is something that I needed to fix in order to be happy all the time. Like I was somehow broken because I wasn't happy all the time.
Societally, we look out and we see all these happy people. People are posting their happy photos on Instagram. We're watching happy movies. It's all happy, 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 happy.
Mm-hmm.
And the sadness is like very define, and we can like package up the sadness in our world and deal with it, and then it's happy, 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 happy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like the societally expected human and human experience.
But as I really began to understand more about my innate mental wellness and how thoughts influence my experience in this world, in this process was normalizing whenever I felt sad or when I felt a little bit of anger or anxiety. All of a sudden, then it just like it lost its like its magnitude.
Yeah. So I want to shift the conversation.
But I want to finish my point because I think a lot of times emotions they feel so much more serious when we put that judgment on it, like I should not be feeling.
Well, the judgment is a thought. So emotion comes from a thought. Maybe it's a subconscious thought that we have no awareness of, and then we feel the consequence of that, and then we think about that feeling and we judge it. It's right or wrong, it's good or bad, I want more of it, I want less of it, and that kind of solidifies it and makes it more real.
And then we diagnose it,
and then we treat it.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to diagnose or treat. We want to let it be because we know that there is a constant presence in each and every one of us. And I want to talk about how this kind of practically applies to our clinical practice.
Okay.
Because we tell people that we practice mind-body medicine. We tell people that we practice holistic health. And a lot of people use the term holistic, and that's a whole nother conversation. What does that really mean? But what I want to really emphasize and put forward is that this matters. This matters because one of the principles of healing is that we are treating the root cause. And you've heard this before. And a lot of holistic practitioners, I'm going to put holistic in quotes again because it means something different for everybody. But for me, a holistic practitioner is treating the root cause. And as a mind body empowerment based practitioner, like we're kind of talking about here, this is important and significant because what it means is that the root cause might not be purely physical. In fact, most all of the time when it comes to especially chronic health conditions, there is a mental, emotional, psychological, and or spiritual component that needs to be pointed to and addressed and acknowledged. And how we address and acknowledge it is from a place of empowerment, not saying this is wrong with you, we got to tweak it and fix it and do processing and journaling and get to the root of it and dig it out and step on it and
rip
burn
it
it.
out, cleanse yourself.
Yeah, that's not our approach, but our approach is to provide insight and kind of, insight doesn't happen for us, insight happens for you, but provide a context in which you might have an insight as to how the mind, the emotions, the soul are playing into your experience of physical health. And, a lot of people do have just mental health issues. They feel separate from their innate mental wellness, which is something else. Of course, there are, the unique thing and interesting thing is that there are physiological causes, or not causes, but what's the term that I'm looking for? Physical or physiological things that might exacerbate a mental or emotional health issue. So that's where it becomes holistic. We're not treating the mind and treating the body. And, we use these terms mind body, and really it's a body mind. There's absolutely no distinction, no separation, never has been, never will be. That's a myth that needs to be busted. But the point is, clinically, practically, we are tying these things together, not in a fixing, take this pill to fix this, root trauma kind of thing, but just as a gentle, insightful, creatively empowering process.
Mm-hmm.
That's what healing is.
Yeah. And whether the root cause is on the physical level, the emotional level, the mental level, or the spiritual level, what's really important about how we approach working with people is like what Ben says. We're not trying to fix something. We're not trying to fix something by giving it like
we don't have
the
that
opposite.
power.
We don't have that power. What we're doing is we are providing, whether it is like a physical substance actually with nutrition or herbs, or whether it is just like mindset empowerment coaching like we've talked about,
like knowledge, awareness,
knowledge
insight.
and awareness, all that's doing is supporting the person's innate healing power and capability. So, like we said, we can't, it's not going to be this nettle root tea or this meditation or whatever it is. That is not going to heal you. It's not going to heal the person. Yeah. Only they can do that. Only you can do that. You are the only one that has the power to heal yourself because it is just part of your divine makeup.
Lastly, this is important, obviously, because we know that, we say that root causes might be mental, emotional, or spiritual, and we need to kind of look at that and gain insight and awareness into that. And the connection, just briefly, we know it and we've talked about it, but when we're in a state of peace, acceptance, really that's a state of healing. That's a state physiologically where the body is healing itself. So we can be running around doing all of the things, going to all the fitness classes, doing all the juices, doing all the organic, yada yada, you name it, you know, air freshener, like air purifiers, water, you know, reverse osmosis, spring water, all the things. We can do it all. We can be doing it all. But physiologically, if our body is not in a state of peace and not in a state of harmony, there's not fluid energy flowing through us. Really what that means, if we're not in a parasympathetic, relaxed, healing state, we are going to be blocking ourselves from our experience of health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes these kind of mental patterns that we've latched onto and are creating kind of chronic stress and tension in our physical body, sometimes we're not actually even really aware of
Well,
those.
if we were aware of it, we wouldn't do it to ourselves, right?
Exactly. And so that's one of, that's one of the ways where, we can come in and really support someone is just by shining light on, hey, you've been doing this and you haven't even noticed you've been doing this.
So true, because we are all self-healers. We are all our own healers. And especially when it comes to mental, emotional, spiritual stuff, we have blind spots. We are built with blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
And those blind spots are our opportunities to heal. And obviously we can gain insight into our own blind spots, and maybe it might take years or decades or lifetimes to gain insight into those blind spots. And with the help of people who can help show you your blind spots, then there might be more grace, more ease, more peace, more healing in potential in your life. Like, that's kind of, long story short, that's kind of the point of this all.
Mm-hmm.
So let's wrap up.
Okay.
Once again, every Thursday we shoot for like 25 minutes and we go 30 plus. So apologies for the lengthy podcast, but as always, if you did enjoy it, if you are enjoying it, subscribe, rate, review, and really what would mean a lot to us if you would share it to someone, share this episode or any of these episodes with someone who you feel might be touched, uplifted, inspired by this sort of content. So thank you.
And now it's time for the shameless plugging.
Oh, more plugging?
Yeah. Well, so for one thing, I think we don't mention this enough. We actually have a Patreon. We have an opportunity if you want to donate and support this podcast so that we can continue to create good content that's, professional, top-notch. That would really support us. I know we have a goal of one day hiring a professional editor. So any little amount helps. But also where our passion really is also working with people one-on-one. As we've mentioned, we have a clinic here in Carbondale, Colorado, but we meet with people online all over the world.
Also through group coaching, which is I would say that probably about half of the stuff that we're talking about in group coaching is related to mindset empowerment. Half is related to practical applications of nutritional therapy and lifestyle medicine. Mm-hmm. So it's a great blend of conversations that happen in our weekly group coaching calls. So go to www.alter.health to learn more and get everything that you hopefully want or need.
All right.
Bye for now. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
And love.